Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well. You amazing, amazing people. You're looking absolutely wonderful today. And we're heading towards the end of the week now, as it is Thursday. I'm pretty sure I got the day right and everything. I'm on fire, just like you. So shall we crack on? Because there's been another new doc. Some of you will have heard it, some of you won't. I'm going to go through it very, very quickly, even though it's shite, because we want to keep up to date. Okay, so I'm going to read it. I can't screen share at the moment because we're redoing the studio again. Lots of reasons why. I'm going to go through them later and then we'll be back to normal. Things should be back up and running properly Friday. I do believe Friday. Anyhow. So based on the defendant's motion to unseal, defendant's motion to reconsider, orders denying motion to dismiss indictment, and in the alternative for permission to appeal from interlocutory orders filed January 12, 2024, and the state's request for a closed hearing on said motion filed January 19, 2024, the court orders the following. A sealed hearing on the defendant's motion to unseal, defendant's motion to reconsider, orders denying motion to dismiss indictment, in the alternative for permission to appeal from interlocutory orders, and a stay of proceedings will be heard on January 26, 2024 at 11 a.m. Pacific time, the time already set for the sealed hearing in this case. Hearing will be sealed and closed to the public to protect the privacy of the grand jury proceedings. I don't think they even have to say that anymore. I think they've literally just got a stamp or perhaps a tape recorder or something that does all this for them. At this stage, I feel that would be better. Maybe I should start doing some merch, like some stamps protecting grand jury, so on and so forth. And look, I get it. I've seen some people in the comments saying, look, grand jury proceedings have always been private. They've always been sealed to the public. They are a secret situation. You know, they're done in privacy. But that ain't the point there, is it, guys? That ain't the point. What you've got to remember is that when we go way back, we was in a situation where they think they got the right guy, okay? They think they've got the right guy. And all of you kind of guilters, you believe that they've got the right guy. So why didn't they just go to a preliminary hearing? Why did that preliminary hearing just happen to coincide with mention of exculpatory evidence potentially that could be provided by one of the surviving roommates, Bethany Funk? You know, that first of all raises an eyebrow, because you think, look, it could have nothing to do with it. But they were hell-bent. I've shown that on other videos quite in depth, that they really didn't want the the defense to speak to Bethany Funk. They tried to block it. They tried to block it at every turn. And you know, again, we always go back to the same old, don't we? Why should she be put through this? This is the guy, and it's an arrogance. It's an arrogance to it. And it's almost becoming, when you step back and you look, this is almost like, this is Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger. And I don't just mean in the sense of a court situation. This has become personal. That's my interpretation of what I'm seeing. And I have to ask, who the fuck is in control of all this? Who's in control? Is it Judge? Is he ruling his court? Is he in charge? Or is he a limp pecker and absolutely useless? Do you know what I mean? That's what he comes across as me. He needs to grow some nuts, get on and start taking control of things, because at the moment I have to ask, what is the point of all this? What is the point? Like, we've got another sealed hearing, all right, which again, as aforementioned, a lot of you will turn around and say, look, Bryan Kohberger's just trying to stall things. He's trying to get into grand jury things and get into, and I don't think it is about that. I personally don't think it's about that. This is about a situation that's seen an accused man who is claiming that he's innocent, by the way. He's claiming he's innocent. He stood silent. Some of you silly motherfuckers still don't understand why he stood silent. He stood silent because that was his right to stand silent. He wasn't going to acknowledge it. He's refusing to have any part of it. He's saying, I have nothing to do with this crime. I have nothing to do with this crime. And could you imagine, right? He had an affiliation, even though it was a minor one. He had approached Moscow PD prior to all this shit, with an intention of working alongside them. And, you know, perhaps Bryan Kohberger went in and had this discussion, a discussion with Moscow PD because of the situation. And he wanted to go in and have a discussion, by the way, that was never recorded. There is no proof of what was said. And after that discussion, lo and behold, he's stitched up, and he's all of a sudden the guy. So what would make you think that he would want to say anything else if he's gone in there and the guy is in fact innocent, and he's had a discussion and said, look, this isn't me, I haven't done it, I'll give you my DNA. Maybe he did give him his DNA, and maybe that is, who knows, the elaborate story behind how they got his DNA by going to Pennsylvania and rummaging through bins and shit like that, when there was much more easy ways of doing it. They could have just fucking swabbed his door handle of his car, or swabbed the door handle of his fucking apartment. I don't understand where all of this came from. If they already knew that they were looking at Bryan Kohberger, okay, looking for Bryan Kohberger, and they decided, I know what we'll do, rather than go and swab his door handle because we're going to know he's at work, because there was a period of time the guy was not at fucking home all the time. Why didn't they just swab his fucking door handle? Do you know what I mean? I don't get it. And could they have swabbed his door handle? Could they have gone to his apartment, swabbed his door handle, and got a skin cell off a door handle and planted on a sheath? And I know we're looking at tinfoil hat zone here, but you have to ask the question, don't you? You have to ask the question. Because we have a situation where we've got a guy who's claiming, I didn't do it. Every single thing is being hidden. It was heading towards a preliminary hearing. We also had a situation with the aforementioned exculpatory evidence. That all got knocked off the fucking table. I feel like I'm repeating myself. But I'm repeating myself because people just don't seem to understand why this guy seems to have a bee in his bonnet over the grand jury. Because what Bryan Kohberger is pretty much likely saying is, look, this grand jury only happened because you knew I would walk from a preliminary hearing. And when you pair that with Jay Logston turning around and saying that one of the grand jurors, or several of the grand jurors, had turned around and said, we need to see more. And they've kind of then been told, no, hold on a second, you don't need to see more. All you need to see is a bare fucking bones, enough to make sure that we hold this motherfucker in and can indict him. You don't need to see enough to prove beyond reasonable doubt. And you think to yourself, but they do really, don't they? They do. It might be written that they don't have to, and that old saying they could indict a jam sandwich, but that's not fucking right. It ain't right. That principle, that precedent in terms of how these function isn't right. And it is why so many states fail to even use it. They don't use it. There's countries that we don't use it. Fucking grand jury indictments that can fucking ruin a person's life. Why didn't they go to a preliminary hearing? Why did they block them having a conversation with Bethany Funk? This guy, Bryan Kohberger, could you imagine if he's innocent? He's going to be pulling his fucking hair out. Absolutely pulling his hair out. And you've got some people out there who are just putting the boot in, kicking the guy when they don't have all the evidence. And even when they look at the stuff and they turn around and say, yeah, but they've got his car. You don't know it's his car. They've got his DNA. You don't know how it got there. It could have been planted there. It could have been. You know, they've got phone pings pinging them in the area. No, they fucking haven't. And it just goes on and on. He's an incel. No, he's not. It's not been proven. He had a problem with women. Did he really? Did he really? What, because he went to a bar, got pissed up and said something that probably got him a fucking slap around the head by a female? Fuck me, I've had that done. The guys, I just don't get it. I don't get it. And again, we've got another hearing under seal to protect the grand jury, which in all honesty, it's not. It's not to protect the grand jury. It's using the grand jury. This entire situation, I think, was all about doing this. They knew if they went down the route of preliminary hearing, he would likely walk because they didn't have enough to hold him. Furthermore, even if they did get to hold him, this would be public, and they would have very little to be able to say, well, we're going to hide this because of this. But with it being grand jury, they leapt over the preliminary hearing. They managed to indict him via a grand jury that seemingly, again, if you believe Jay Logston, shouldn't have fucking happened in the first place. And we're down the track, and every single thing the prosecution, it seems to be the prosecution, I'll bet my bollocks to a barn dancer it was them who initiated the gag order and all of this sealing of documents, and the rest is history. Now they can just keep going. If it's got anything to do with what happened after the grand jury, well, we're protecting the grand jury. Can't see it, public can't see it, nothing. You're just going to have to fucking trust us that we're doing it right and doing everything above board. Do you believe it? Let me know down below. And again, if we'd got this far down the track, if you're someone who initially believed Bryan Kohberger was guilty, but now you feel that there's a potential for him to be innocent, you're not quite balls deep in guilt anymore, please let me know down below and tell me what was the straw that broke the camel's back with you falling into that category. I'll be interested to hear. But anyway, like I say, I'm going to go because I've got lots of stuff to do. There's only going to be one video today because I've got lots of stuff to do. But it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. You'll see. Stay amazing, stay beautiful, and I'll catch you all in the next one.